We're in the new year and 2020 has come to a close. It's one of the years that has impacted all of us, very, very, in some type of way, in some type of fashion, especially in the FGC scene, in person tournaments have really shut down, and we're trying to slowly, get back into, having some type of scene in the FGC with having an online presence, online tournaments, and things of that nature. So, there's a lot of things that can be looked at in the FGC as like, oh, this is negative thing happened, this negative thing happened. But from you guys, what's something positive that you feel like can be taken from 2020 that the FGC could take from here on out? What's something like a positive note that we can end the year on to just look forward into the future and take that and, do better in the future? So, starting with you, Mr. Gamer.
I would have to say, I think information, just the experience from this year and information. So going further, like when things do kind of return back to normal, maybe we'll kind of have some information on maybe what to do, how to handle things in like a situation like this where a pandemic has happened. And that way we can move forward a little easier and know how to transition. Like I think we transitioned pretty well because had no choice to with online stuff. But I think like if something like this would if let's say things get back to regular, normal things, and anything like this happens again, we'll be like probably a little more prepared and just have more knowledge and information for going further and how to make things better when we get back in person. Um so I think that's something that we can just take positive, just looking at this year and learning from like, well, how do we transition? How can we, further learn to transition from something when we're so used to doing it one way, like we're just used to doing it in person, which makes sense. But sometimes you might have to get out of your comfort zone and do it another way. So I think that's a good thing, just to learn how to look at things from a different perspective. And also, I think just in terms of fighting game development, I want to say I think since everybody's at home, I think developers are looking more at like it's been a bigger conversation this year of good online for fighting games. So I think this year has been like a bigger step to say, hey, for developers, to be like, you know what, maybe we should, look more into making sure that our players online have a decent connections. So if something happens with they're at home, they can still play. They can still have get games and no problems. So I think that's also the positive. Just having developers be more aware and look at what's going on with their net codes and things of that nature and the structure of their gaming online to make it a better experience for us as players. So, because like we right now, that's all we got for the most part, unless you like close proximity to somebody that's like your personal friend and you go play with them. But other than that, you're online. So yeah, I think the information of knowing how to move forward in like this situation where you have to like adapt really quickly, and having developers look at um online netcode is, I think, two things that we can take that's positive from this year.
One of the positive things that I think like have come from this year, I think is that being home and like having to really like be get a little creative with the kind of stuff that you can do. I mean, for instance, I mean this like input output like is a good example of that. Like, like we don't really get to go out and do it. Like we're here, but we didn't like, it was just like, well, we're just sat on our hands and did nothing. Like it's like, we actually came up with something. Like we came up with this show. We're here, we're doing it, and I mean we love doing it. We love that other people love the show. So I mean this is really big deal, that kind of came out from, from being stuck inside because of the pandemic. From this last like the last whole year. Like Devin said, the people, like the developers, have to focus a little bit more on netcode, which has always been something that they kind of neglected. I think, like for the most part, has always been neglected, and it didn't really matter really didn't matter in the grand scheme of things, because a lot of people, most times people are just going to try to play locally and stuff like that with their friends. It's like, oh well, you can't play online, and well, whatever. There were a lot of people before now that didn't play online at all. Like I would ask people, hey, like what's your gamer tag? What's your PSN ID? And they'd be like, oh well, I don't really play online. It's like, oh, okay, well, you know, I mean, and why would you? I mean, if you can go to a local or you can go to like your major, why would you play online? All of the people that you want to play with, like, you can just go and play locally and like you guys are helping each other get better. But then you're at a point where nobody gets to see anybody in person for months at a time. And then you have to be like, oh man, I guess I got to start playing online. So now people are playing online. I mean, I would say that there are some people that I've met, like there's like, community growing is a lot more, it's a lot different online, I think, because there's like, you're meeting people in person, but then online, you have like discords and there's all these different people. So it's not just restricted to the people that are in your area, like, for like in like collisions, you got people from like Austin and Houston and people from like the tri-state area, East Coast and stuff coming into the collisions Discord because like like this is what we got now. This is online. You can't like the better the net code gets, the more likely it is that people from all over the country can jump into your Discord, and of course now you're making these connections with people who you may or may not meet in person at some point in the future. But you have that connection. I met some people on Soul Calibur that I probably never would have met, if we weren't like, if this past year hadn't happened. And some of these people like Gorash, and Lightning Chicken, and like my boy Sid Highwing, like all these people that I've met through like, just on like being online and just playing people online, just randomly. Now my game has progressed so much. I'm not saying I'm the best, but I'm a lot better than I would have been without their help. So I feel like, as a player, I've been able to narrow my focus and really get into the stuff that I might really think about. Okay, what is it exactly that I want to do? Like not only as a player, but as a content creator, like what exactly is it that I want to do? What do I want to be involved with? What do I want to be a part of? So there's been a lot of time to sit down and think and really like a lot of self-reflection. So I mean, I'm thankful, but I don't really like I would say I don't like necessarily the way that it occurred, but I do appreciate the silver linings that have come from like being in this kind of position. So I would say, yeah, like the better net code, the community building, and just like I mean, just generally, like, and of course, this like TVFGC, the input output. So I think like all these are the things that I really am thankful for that have come out of like the past year.